Welcome back to another episode of the Saber Team's Corner. So, I'm going to talk to you guys today about a ghost story that happened in 1987. Alright, well, this ghost story takes place in 1987. I was in long range patrol school, which they call LARSU school, back in the day. For as a leadership course at Fort Benning with the 4th RTB. We was at Harmony Church. And we're going to start off with, we were in an isolation phase for 3 days. I was acting as team leader. And we had to do our whole mission operations on sand tables and do a back brief and all this other good stuff. And I was working with guys I never worked with before. So we did the isolation phase. Then the third day, we was planning on flying out. We got in the helicopters. It was about 10 o'clock at night. We got on, flew out to do our mission. We had 4 insertions, 3 false, and 1 the real insertion. The real insertion was on the third set down. So as we get into the helicopter, I sit in the team leader seat, in the front seat, in the in the Black Hawk, and the ranger instructor sat next to me. I tried to pull out the map, tried to figure out where I was going. I had no idea. At that time I wasn't a team leader. I was an assistant team leader, becoming a team leader. So I didn't have that much time in the helicopter acting as a team leader. So I made some mistakes, and I'll tell you about them here soon. And so as we're flying out, we do the first insertion, and it was a false insertion. And then we did the second false insertion. And the false insertion is where the helicopter will fly an orbit over the insertion area, then come down and do a landing. And it looks like, or hover, and it looks like guys will jump out and they'll take off. And so if the enemy sees the false insertion, they will actually go toward the false insertion thinking there's going to be troops there. So we're going to the third insertion. I was counting the insertions, the landings. So on the third one, I looked up, and the crew chief gave me a red light. And that's when I knew that we was getting ready to come in for the real drop-off. So I reached back behind me, tapped the guy on the leg, and gave him a 1 minute. And at that time, when you get the 1 minute, what we usually did, we'll unbuckle, grab our weapon in one hand, grab our ruck with one hand, make sure all the buckles are off you so you don't get snagged trying to get up out of the seat. And as soon as the helicopter comes in and lands, you pick up your weapon and your ruck. Then you run out the helicopter and throw your ruck down and lay down on the ground and wait. Now, if it was heavy wood line, we would have ran all the way to the wood line. That's what we would do as small teams like that. We would run straight into the wood line and not stay out there and guard the helicopter. But this time, we wanted to stay and do a 360 around the helicopter because we were all new to each other and didn't know each other's movements or how people will work together at night. So we did that. Helicopter took off, and next thing you know, we were sitting there for about 5 or 6 minutes, and a ranger instructor came up and said, "What the hell are you guys doing?" And we was like, "We're doing a listening." He said, "Get the fuck up." And so he got up. He said, "Who's the team leader?" I said, "I am." He said, "All right." He said, "Let me tell you what you did good and what you did bad. First, you did good. You did good in the isolation phase, the back brief. Everything was superb. But where you messed up at, when you got in the helicopter, each helicopter, there's a, right in the roof, if you sit in that seat closest to the crew chief, there's a radio hand receiver there. We called it a dog bone back in the day. So you're supposed to grab that, pull it down, and talk to the crew chief and let him know to give you a heads up or let you know. He can count, tell you, he can give you a light on what insertion is what, and so you'll know exactly where you're at in the air just in case the helicopter go down. So that's why I got my ass chewed for. So I learned from that day on, never do that again. And every helicopter I jumped in after that as a team leader, I always grabbed that dog bone. Immediately, once the chatter stopped from the pilots, I got on there and talked to that crew chief and let him know, "Hey, I'm team such and such. Give me a 1 minute when we get in." and that worked out from there. And so then I thought I was going to take the team all the way into to the isolation phase, and not the isolation phase, but into the high side. But the ranger instructor, he was like, "Nope, you're dead, and now you're RTO." And I was like, "Oh, okay." It was a big weight that came off my shoulders. After that, I was like, "Oh, I can relax." You know what I'm saying? Until I got to that radio. Now that radio pack was 120 pounds. We carried AM radios plus 2 sets of batteries. It was a generator on that pack, and plus all types of antenna and gear. And it was a digital data burst device that was in there too. And that thing, I couldn't even get off the ground. I weighed 168 pounds when I was in the Army back then. And I couldn't pick up 120 pounds on my back. But I carried it. I had to get guys, when I put that pack on my back, the guys had to grab both of my arms and pick me up to get me standing up. And I carried it all the way to the rest of the point we got ready to go. And but the pain goes away after the first hour, so you don't feel any pain. It gets numb then. But the funny part about it, when we got into an area we was going to stop at, it was a river that came down. Not a river, but I want to say a small stream that came down to where we was going to hunker down at. And so we had an option to stop and sleep inside the stream, or sleep on the banks of the stream. I didn't want to sleep on the banks of the stream because critters come to the stream, and so I definitely didn't want to sleep inside the stream, but it was an option. So I said, you know what? You guys figure out what you're going to do. I got to get comms up. So I went over to a clearing, set up my antenna, and got the digital data burst device out, got the AM radio, everything all hooked up in the middle of the night. No lights, you doing this, all in the dark. And got the antenna hooked up. I had already the guys had already pre-configured the antenna. So we had the frequency that we was going to use was already set up. So one thing I had to do is set up the antenna into I think I used a long wire configuration where long wire is where you have 2 strings going like this and have a insulator on one end, and you bounce it off the trees into the ionosphere. And that's what I was doing. And so as I set everything up, and I started to put the codes into the digital device, I kept hearing footsteps walking around me in a big oval circle. It was at least a 6-foot area to maybe about 10-foot area, but it was in an oval. And so I kept hearing the footsteps. I stopped what I was doing. As I hear the footsteps, they're coming toward me, they're going around me, and I hear them going around me on the right side, and then they'll go away from me. I was like, well, no, I don't see anybody out here. So I turned my red light on and started looking, and I still didn't see anybody. So then I was like, I went down toward the ground, toward where the footprints were, and I can hear the footprints. And so I flashed my red light down there on the footprints, and I see the leaves moving. Boom, boom, boom. And I was like, oh my God, what is this? You know? So I thought I was going crazy. I thought I was hallucinating because I didn't have any sleep. So immediately right after that, I went and got the acting team leader and the assistant team leader, told them to come over there and take a look. Something's walking around me, and I don't know what it is. So as we're sitting over there trying to figure it out, we're looking at the red lens, and we're looking at the ground with the red lens, and we can see the leaves and stuff moving with the red lens. Then all of a sudden the rest of the team came on. Now we had 6 guys, all 6 of us over there looking and trying to figure out these footsteps. They can all hear them, every single person. And so the ranger instructor came over there like, what the hell are you guys doing? And we're like, we hear footsteps. Something is walking around us. And so we showed him the red lens and looking at the footsteps, and he was like, what the hell? His next thing is like, turn the white light on. So I took the flashlight, put the white light on, and we clearly could see with the white light the leaves and a footprint impression in the leaves going like this the whole time. And we followed it, and it went all the way around toward the creek, and it came all the way back around me and went all the way back toward the creek. Now, I don't know how many people were walking in that group, but it may look like it might have been maybe one or two together. So I moved the leaves. I said, there's got to be ants or something, right? So I moved the leaves and looked underneath the leaves with the white lens to see if there's bugs that was doing this. Moved the dirt, moved the leaves. There was nothing but flat dirt. But the weirdest thing about it, when I moved the leaves and you saw the flat dirt, the leaf went down where the dirt began, and the leaf went down again on the other side where I cleared. So it looked like something had stepped there and something has stepped on the other side. And I was like, huh. And we were like, huh. All 7 of us witnessed this event. Now, I sent my transmission out that night. I decided, whatever it is, it can't hurt me. And if it does, at least it takes the misery of me having to carry this 120-pound pack off my back, and I won't have to carry it for the rest of the night if it does kill me. So everybody just went back into the positions, and the story was forgotten about for over 30 years. I didn't tell my wife about this story until 2 years ago, and it was something that's strange that happened, and that was very unexplainable. I laid down and went to sleep inside that circle. I felt very safe. I didn't feel scared. Whatever it was, I don't know what it was. We thought it could have been Confederates or Union soldiers that died during the Civil War and was lost and trying to find themselves, and so they were walking around. That's what we thought eventually. But whatever it was, I went to sleep. I woke up the next morning, and no footprints. It was all gone. Everything. It was like it never existed. So we carried on with our mission, and that's my ghost story. That happened in Fort Benning, and in 1987. It's a Saber Team Tactical. Sponsors this, and I'll see you guys in the range.